Hello everybody, welcome back. It's early. I'm going to do my little, before this video I will post the ocean video. We jumped in the ocean last night and got with some guys. Had a very full day yesterday. But before I forget, Pops had me laughing. Now I took Pops. Pops had a little extra money yesterday. And you know, I've been running low on gas and things, and Pops had money. And I bought Pops. A few weeks ago, I bought Pops cigarettes, you know, a couple packs. I really didn't have the money, and so he had cash. The reason he had cash was because I took him to his insurance. He has a couple of insurance things. I told Pops, I tell these stories so he knows. I'll get to that in a second. But he had a couple of insurance things. And his Humana is going to pay for one of his procedures as opposed to the Medicare or the VA. So he saved an extra 100. So he was spending money. And then he asked me, John, do you need money for gas? Because I went to see Pops and I didn't call him, and it's on the other side of town. I'm trying to split my time now with some of the new friends, some of the old friends, and then with Pops. But I'm very grateful that I have a whole complete day. And so I went to his door at about 10. I left the coffee shop and I was working on my computer. And then when I got to Pop's place, he wasn't there. And I called him. Hey, I'm at your place, Pops. He was at HEB. He got a ride from another lady just for the ride. I said, no, I'll get you. So I picked him up. And he asked, you know, you got things to do? And I did have things to do. But I said, no, whatever you need, Pop. And then he asked if I wanted gas, and I said, I really need it. I'm going to go fill it up, but I don't want you to pay for it, even though we had some money. Because I don't enjoy doing it at the ministry, any of it, for money or like Paul I was teaching. He said he enjoyed not taking money or working, and when he was doing ministry in some of the cities, the Philippian church did communicate with him, meaning they did supply his needs, but in other places he didn't. So I like that principle. But I told him, I said, you know, Pops, you can buy me a pack of cigarettes. Now, he owed me a few packs, but so I let him buy me one pack of cigarettes. So we run to a couple of stores, and he's buying stuff, and I noticed, Pops, he's kind of wasting money, if you ask me. And then he asked me, can you take me all the way to the Turner's Garden Land? He likes it, the pictures of the little garden store I posted. And it's nice just walking around. He bought some stuff. And he's been wanting to get that plant, that flower. It's called Bird of Paradise. It's pretty. I've seen one. My other friend has a full-grown one at his house. So Pops likes them. He knows about plants. And then we get in the car. And then he looks at me and he kind of makes a smile. I said, where do you want to go next? He says, can you take me to the VA? And he smiles because he knows I kid him about flirting and all. I'm like, Pops, you're picking up girls. Now, he's not, but he knows I kid him. So when he asked me, I knew he wanted to give that flower to the lady at the VA that he likes. I've never met her. He tells me, oh, she's pretty, John. So when we get to the VA, I said, sure. I said, you're going to give her that plant? You know, you're wasting money, Pops. He got a good deal on the flower. So then when we get to the VA, we pull in the parking lot. And Pops, I tell Pops, I said, I'm telling this. I'm going to tell this on the videos. They know, everybody knows. Look, I don't tell the big things. Trust me. It's big things I don't tell. Not about me. I tell everything about me, but so Pops, we just pull into the VA and Pops goes, I said, I'm telling this story, Pops. And he looks at me. I was laughing. He says, don't tell him it's my psychiatrist. They'll think I'm nuts. And I said, Pops, I already told the story, but I didn't know it was a psychiatrist. I wanted to tell that though. But he was serious, but then I told him I'm going to tell it. He knows. He says, they'll think I'm nuts. You know, I have some friends in vets and all that just been meeting and all. This is going to be part of some of the stuff I guess I'm going to wind up doing, working with some of these guys. But why do people, vets, maybe Pops, Why do they have psychiatrists? I don't have one, but I'm not mocking anybody that does have one. I don't have a doctor. I have not had a doc. I have not had a doctor. All the years I had insurance at the fire department, I never had a doctor. Never did checkup. Never. And a few times over the years, I had to go to the emergency room for a couple times. And they asked, "Who's your doctor?" Because I had insurance, various companies, but it was city insurance. I said, "I don't have one." And I've not had one. So I've just, I've never kind of done those things. But Pops, they struggle with suicide. Vets that've seen things. Pops served years ago, but he has some issues with health and all. So this is a thing, and you shouldn't be ashamed. But Pops, don't think I'm nuts. And then Pops told me, I said, Christina is the girl that she just lives with Pops. She was like on the streets, and she helps pay the rent. But they're not boyfriend and girlfriend, but Pops has her staying there. And Pops tells me, "Don't tell her about the other woman." And he wasn't kidding. It's not another woman, but he just gives that lady, I guess the psychiatrist, I guess she's pretty and, she talks to him. I've never met her. So I was laughing. It was funny. I'm going to talk. I'm going to teach a little bit in a few seconds here. Now, I am writing a little notes in the morning to remember things. I don't know if I'm going to, I was going to do one of my tricks. Oh, I hear somebody's up, so they can hear me. But I don't know if I'll do it. I might tell a little story about Harlem a few years ago. And then put that as in the title. That way people will have to watch this video. But some of the people I'm talking to, working with, some of those pictures yesterday, and those are some new friends I met. And it was nice. I enjoyed it. All of us are looking for purpose. Really, that's what people are searching for in life. And whether you're in a ministry environment or just talking to people in general, that's really what people are. Purpose, authenticity. A lot of people are turned off from Christianity and the church because even good, well-meaning preachers, pastors, sometimes you don't have the authenticity because you also begin seeking an image, thinking it's required to have a particular image. Now, I'm reading through the New Testament, and Paul says, "If any man desires the office of a bishop or a leader, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, no striker." That's what I mentioned the other day. Not supposed to be a fighter. So there are certain things like that. But you don't want to have an image that's fake or hide the mistakes or the faults. And so I noticed more so when I'm just talking to people that are experiencing life, there's almost sometimes more of an authenticity, more of a seeking for what's true. Now, I don't want to do a lot of deep stuff here, but I want to talk about something that we call teleology. Telos, T-E-L-O-S, is a Greek word that the philosophers used, Aristotle. Even Marx talked about this as well. I mentioned Marx the other day. And they're separated by, 1,800 years or whatever. Aristotle about 4 centuries before Christ. Marx, 1800 era. But telos, the philosophers used it to say, how do you define what's good, the good and the bad? And so many of the philosophers were saying, you define what's good by the purpose of the thing. If you had a hammer, and the purpose of the hammer is to drive nails, and so if that hammer is good at fulfilling its purpose, that's how you define good, fulfilling its function. And so in the discussions of the existence of God, we call this apologetics. You've seen me teach this. We talk about the cosmos, the universe, everything out there. And actually, the definition for cosmos, even people that deny, Christians argue for the existence of God. One of the arguments is called teleology, which is the purpose and design we see in the universe. Okay? See, getting back all the way to that word. But some argue that there's no purpose, there's no design, everything is random, but they'll still use the word cosmology. But actually, see, now I'm going to show you a little, right here, little contradiction in logic. Because the actual definition for cosmology is not just everything that's out there, just a scientific definition, but it's everything that's out there and sort of like the order of it, the design or purpose. So if you're arguing and saying, my cosmological argument, I'm an atheistic scientist, my cosmological argument is there's no purpose in design. In the very definition, cosmology, it entails purpose and design. So you need to come up with another word. And I like doing that, not to make them look stupid, but they try to use their intellect. And a lot of people a lot of average people, I'm not mocking people, science has proved all these things, and they have no idea anything about science, anything about the words these guys are using. So it's just an excuse people use. So teleology. In theology, study of God, we talk about man's purpose, to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. To glorify God and to enjoy him forever. So how would you define the good life, the good person, our lives seeking? It's to glorify God. You were made in the image of God. See, man was made in the image of God. They came to Jesus. This is a false accusation. I'm reading through the New Testament, the Old Testament, and it says, many bear false witness against him. God hates false accusation and false witness, false testimony. And one of the false things that happened, false testimonies, was he says he's his own king, and he was king of the Jews, he was king of all, and he refuses to pay taxes. They lied. False accusation. He says you don't have to pay tax. They used that accusation. I just read it the other day in the gospel. But they asked Jesus once. They tried to catch him in that one thing. The reason they did that question to him, they said, is it right to pay taxes or no? Why were they doing that? If you read the gospel carefully, it says they were trying to catch him in his words, in some accusation. I'm going to tell this because, a few years ago, there are undercover cops that work on the streets, and I have friends over the years that got in trouble because they knew, this guy's a snitch. He did a certain deal, and then the cops busted, and they all know so-and-so right at so-and-so. This is common, There was a guy that probably was undercover. Seemed like a nice guy. I talked to him a few times. And I wondered if he came up to that mission because I was there. Because one day, after a very long time of having no incidents, and I had that little story, I was upset about the getting a fine for illegal dumping because I helped a homeless friend. But it just so happened after I went that day and I wound up, I told this and had a confrontation at the police thing because nothing bad, but they saw this guy's mad. Sure enough, this guy that probably was undercover, I won't say his name, his fake name, obviously, but he was at the mission for about a year. I don't think he was there just for me, but they were wanting to hear me if I was going to make statements. They can go around threatening people actually doing things. Doing it, never mind statements. All day, all night, running around, and yet they're out trying to catch everything, every word that a person speaks. And they're committing crimes left and right, criminals. So I went to that one day I had that little, I was upset about the ticket and I wound up talking to some cops. They knew I was upset. And this guy that was coming for a few years used to come to the mission. And he said he was a mountain climber. And every day he'd show up with the mountain pack. There's no mountains here, brother. You know, get a better thing. And the other guys knew that he was probably an undercover. But I talked to him a few times. I didn't know, you know. I think he offered me something once. Like sometimes people come up to me, hey, you want to get high? And like pushing us. I don't get high. You want to sleep around with some girl? I've had people come up to me, whether it was legitimate or not. Maybe it was just somebody hitting on me. I don't know. But I've had people, I said, no, I don't want to sleep around. I'm doing ministry. But after this guy was gone, he was there for a while. And he even told one of my other friends, actually. I can say this because he said it publicly. He says, yeah, I used to work for one of the FBI governmental agencies. Who knows? He probably said it because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. But after he was gone for a long time, mountain climber, showing up every day with the backpack. What mountains is he climbing around here? And then that one day, he was gone for like a year. And one day after I got mad, and they knew where I am, and they wanted to keep an eye on me. Is this guy going to go overboard? Because he's unstable. And that day I was mad. And I was up at the mission. Comes up. I won't say his name. He's got the mountain back. And the first thing he says when he comes up, there's a few of my other friends there. Oh, I just got back from climbing, not Everest, but something like that. And he was there for about less than a minute because he was right next to me. And he wanted to kind of see what this guy's going to say. Me. That's what I think it was. And I was in a bad mood. And any of my friends will tell you. And he's like wanting to talk, and I just had that look like. And people know, don't mess with him. He left, never came back. Never came back. He's gone. His story, the whole time he was up there, that guy, that he's a mountain climber and he's here, and that one day he comes back and he says, I'm back. Back from went and climbed the mountains. They did the Appalachian Trail. So he was there for 1 minute left, never came back. Catch you in your words. That's what they want to do. That's a true story I'm telling you there. I never made threats, but they wanted to hear if I was making them. Telos, purpose design. Fulfill what you were designed to do. Fulfill that. When they were looking for Jesus making questions, they asked him, is it right to pay taxes or not? And it says they wanted to catch him in his words. And he said, bring me one of the coins. They bring him a coin. Whose image and superscription is on the coin? Caesar's. He never said don't pay the tax. He said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and give unto God what is God's. And on that coin there's an image of Caesar. So if it's in his image, that coin, go ahead and pay the tax. But you're in the image of God. You give yourself to God. He never said, he never told them don't pay tax. But that one of the accusations, I just read it, against Jesus was he said don't pay taxes. Lied. You lied. He said, well, they all manipulated. They're all dead, except for him. He's alive. But they're in awaiting judgment. Every false accuser, all of that, they're awaiting judgment. And they're in a place of judgment now. It's not the ultimate hell, but they're in a place of holding for the ultimate judgment. We will all give an account to God, every one of us, according to the things that were done in our body, whether it be good or whether it be bad. I'm looking at my notes a little bit. I had a very full day. I got the book of Peter open. I was thinking of giving a few things. I'm reading Peter. It's interesting. I could show you my Bible here. I have all these little, I'm just reading through the Old Testament page by page, New Testament page by page, and different sections. But it's not, some Bibles you can buy, I've never used them before, but I think they're probably good because it's reading through the Bible in a year type thing. And it tries to connect the chapters in the New Testament with the chapters that correspond in the Old Testament. And it would probably be good to do something like that because it is important to see how the New Testament is quoting from those passages. But even though mine is not ordered or organized in that way, my own reading system, it happens all the time. And I just read a verse in Peter, be ye holy for I am holy. Now that's not in every chapter of the Bible, but I read Leviticus 19, just, it's in there. And I read it like the same day or one day in the next chapter. But that happens a lot. And I just find that interesting. In Peter, it's I could teach the whole book, but it says we're being built together as this spiritual community, living stones, I mentioned that the other day, that we give praise and glory and honor unto God. And Peter says if you suffer wrongfully, it's a good thing. Because if you're suffering wrongfully, Christ gave the example. And if you suffer for something that you did, that you're guilty of, it's not really worthy suffering. You still got to do it. But if you're suffering for something you didn't do, that's worthy because that was the example. And I had read that in Peter, and then I read the part in the gospel, I'm reading through Luke, almost done, where it says he suffered wrongfully. Part of it was false accusation and all. So it's just interesting to see how that's always seems to be connecting. Yesterday I had a full day. I want you to remember that. That's the purpose, that's the theme for today. Telos, okay? Purpose and design. You were created in the image of God, therefore your purpose is to glorify God. Give God that which is also his image that you were created in, just like that coin goes to Caesar. I had a very full day. And at first, the last week or so, I started working with the older guys again and Pops, and I was going to do them all in one day, like, well, maybe I'll go over here, but I've been getting tired, drained, like fatigue, and so I couldn't do both. And yesterday, I gave that time to Pops, and then I had to come back here, do the grass, fix things, work, and I was getting a little tired. And then one of my friends, who might watch the video, but I won't say too much of his name. Oh, I'm going to tell a funny story. I'm going to title this something else. I just remembered. And he texted me, one of my new friends. Not a, Christian ministry. No, just met him as normal, just friends, hanging out. Let's go riding these four-wheeler type things. My son-in-law's somebody else. So I've been wanting to get with these guys, some of these newer guys, just friends. But I was tired, and he texted me at about 3 or 3:30. John, I'm over at the other friend's place. Come meet us over there. And he lives right in the middle of everywhere that I've been working for years, but I've never been in that little loft. You saw the pictures of the art studio. That's where it was, right here where I've been working with guys for years. But I was tired, and I didn't want to go. But then I went because I wanted to. I felt like I needed to go. And that's where you're going to see that video of me jumping in the water. Okay, here'll be the title. It won't be the Harlem story. I might tell the Harlem story another time. Walking through Harlem. My friend yesterday, one of my buddies, he told me he used to ride a cab. See, I told you I was going to tell it. And one day he went out to the island, picked up some guy from, I think, Farrah's club. They got a club here. Farrah Fawcett was from Flower Bluff, went to high school here, Corpus Christi, so there's a club in the island, Farrah's. And he picked up some guy and gave him a cab ride. And the guy was drunk. So I'm going to get that guy right now. He's famous. You're going to know him when I say it. And the guy says, do you know who I am? Because he wants, no. My friend says, no, don't you watch sports? No, I don't really watch a lot of sports. And the guy he was living the life of pride, to be honest with you. And he was drunk and he wanted recognition. And he told him he was Jack Nichols, the famous golfer. And my friend's telling the story, and he was like being rude to my friend, the cab driver, because he wanted to be recognized. I want you to know who I am. And my friend's like, wow, he was rude. He was one of those rude drunks. I said, I'm going to post it. You know me, which I'm doing now. He said he only gave him a $3 tip. I said, well, we'll expose Mr. Jack Nichols for the $3 tip. So that's it. I might put a title on this post, something to get you guys to catch it. So for today, that's the word for today. The purpose of God. There's a few verses I was going to read in Peter, just being I'm reading through a lot. Let me look. For this is thankworthy if a man for conscience toward God endure grief suffering wrongfully. What glory is it if when you be buffeted or beaten for your faults, you take it patiently? But if when you do well and suffer for it and take it patiently, this is acceptable with God. For even hereunto were we called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin should live unto righteousness. For you were like sheep going astray, but are now returned to the shepherd and bishop of your souls. Okay? Return to God. That's your purpose. Okay? God bless you all.